Welcome to Europa Universalis 4, and this is Managing Trade. My name is Trey. Again, we're going to start out here in Spain or Castile, as you can see there on the map, and just want to talk a couple things with trade. Trade's, in the beginning, it's kind of difficult because trade involves the use of traders and moving trading power. The easiest thing to think about it is your traders can do two things. They can either collect on trade or they can move trade power. Up there in the corner you can see up there we have treasury, which shows the money and the balances, and you can also click up there in the corner on the economy. Now the economy screen will show things such as your income here on the left and then expenses here on the right, and you can see a balance. That balance is there you get your income there, and what happens is you take all your expenses, subtract it from your income, and that's your balance, or how much you're making every month. Now in the game, when you first start out, your trade's not actually efficient. You have to do some things here. You can see in here, but this screen really doesn't show you exactly on here. So first I'm going to show you how you can find your traders by clicking on the trader button, and it'll show you where they're positioned. One's in Bordeaux and the other's Seville. But I'm going to switch to the trade screen here. And just like a river, you see here's Seville here. You got all these things going in and one coming out, and that's just your direction of trade. And you can see right below it, which is an interesting thing, it shows the relative trade powers of all the countries in this particular node. You can see Portugal there is beating me and Castile is second. Well, I want to be the primary person here. See, there's Castile. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here in a moment is I'm going to go ahead and improve this a little bit. Right here you can see there's another trade node, and this is Genoa, which shows the amount of value in the node, and you can click on it and you can see the different percentages of who has the greatest trade power in the region. Trade power is the ability to move wealth from one node to the other. So if you have a higher trade power in a particular node, that means that when you transfer trade power, you actually will transfer more money upstream towards you. So I went ahead and I transferred a guy over there, and you see the check mark is actually where he's pushing the trade to, which is towards Seville. And there I've selected, and well, the big thing is the reason why you want to move trade to singular nodes is because you have limited traders. If you could just have a trader for every single node in the game, you wouldn't have any reason to transfer trading power. But since for most of the game, a lot of us, unless you research, you're only going to have 2 traders, maybe 3. So what you want to do is you want to move wealth from smaller areas and move it to bigger areas that then you can collect on. Here I've selected my trading ships, and I'm going to send them to Genoa. Right there, and it shows the power. And when I send them, those trade ships are then going to increase my trade power, because with just the guy there it was only like 2 something. Now it's like 24 for my trade power, which means that I'm going to move greater amounts of wealth towards Seville than what I did before. And you can see that that's occurred with the ships. And yeah, it moves over there. And this guy's actually collecting on there. And I fast forwarded a little bit. I was just seeing here if there would be any more changes, but it's pretty instantaneous when you send ships out, unless they're pretty distant, like in the Caribbean or something. It may take a couple months before they get there. So here you can see, and it's actually improved my standing to where I have the ability to alter trade a little better. Now you can go through a different way. You could actually click on a country in that particular trade region and go and see the same way. The tutorial shows you to go and assign traders this way. It's not an efficient way. It's better just to go through the trade screen. As you can see all the percentages on here for the trade power for the areas that are accessible to me. This list will get bigger as time goes on because my trade range will increase with the discovery of different technologies and things like that. But again, you can just kind of go through here and see some of the things. And that was just from sending ships. Now, one of the other things you need to remember on here is you get these other areas, but remember they're worth less. So you don't want to necessarily collect trade from those areas. You want to move. And you can see over here off the side there, I can't reach those areas yet because that's the beginning of the game. But your reach will get further. See this right here? It's 0.5 for gold. Not really worth putting anyone there. And there's Bordeaux, which is worth something. And I actually partake in that node as well. And so I'm just kind of looking here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send a trader out here to transfer trade power. I'm going to transfer from Tunis to Genoa up north. See, I have it selected to Seville. I'm going to switch it over here to Genoa. So I've kind of made a chain reaction here. I'm transferring wealth from Tunis to Genoa. Now, really, it would make sense that anything that's directly to Seville, it'd be better just to transfer all the wealth to Seville that's within range, but eventually you won't be able to do that. You'll have to chain your transfers together to move wealth closer to your nation. So you can see there it's 458. Not that big of a difference, but that's because I'm not collecting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how you would then, once I've transferred some of my trade power over to Seville, you then would eventually then pull off and you can actually collect on it. And see, I'm going to close these screens out here. And I'm going to check it again. See, it's 456 there. Another way you can improve is by increasing your stability. For me, the biggest perk, see, 542 now. I've increased it at least 1 gold. The stability, you want to have your stability as high as you can. I run 2. It kind of slows your advancement because you got to use points. But still, in the long run, it's better to have money than to have points, because then you can build ships and armies and things like that to expand your empire, if that's what your strategy is in the game. You can see here I'm kind of looking at my trade power has increased slightly because Tunis is transferring some of the wealth, and the wealth in that region went from 5 something in Genoa to about 6 something. And so you can see I can select over here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is move my wealth over here to Seville. I'm actually going to go and collect, because Seville is now 6.7 and it was 5 originally. So even though my balance hasn't increased from what I've been doing with trade, I have. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to select my ships, and I want a higher portion of trade over here in Seville. So I'm going to click on them again and select Seville. And then go back to my trade window, and then my trade power has increased. It's up to 50 something now. Zooming in, really can't see it, but it's about 57 there, and it went from like 20 something to 57, and now Castile is the #1 trade power in there. So just by using your trading vessels, you can increase your trade power, which means you have a bigger section of the wealth in a particular region. So I'm fast forwarding here, and I'm going to go through my economy again. See, look, it's 668. Because I also transferred a trader over there to go ahead and collect on trade. So now I've increased myself. So just for the small changes I've done in the first part of the game, I've actually increased the amount of income. Now it looks like it's a small amount, but later on in the game, if you keep concentrating on your trade, you can make a lot of money. And also expanding colonies overseas is a good way to actually increase trade as well, because you control those areas. So again here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build some trading ships, these barks right now, and I'm going to build them. And because I want to go ahead and I want to have Seville, I want my ships there, making my trade power higher, and also Genoa. I want to be able to influence Genoa since there's a high value, and I want to be able to move that value to Seville so I make even more money. Now there's a trade-off you're going to see here after I build these ships, that I have to support those ships as well. So what's going to happen is you're going to see my amount of income drop, but in the long run I'm going to gain a greater influence in the world, which will later on help out with dividends. See, now I'm just going to move my ships all in one area, and again these are the barks, and so and one of the ways you can tell that they help with trade is that you see the little 2 stacks of money up there, and that's going to, when you click on that, it'll have them patrol the areas to support trade. So then now they're all together. I'm going to group them together. And now I'm going to send them to Genoa. So select them. Turn on the trade thing to show what the effects is. So right now my trade is like 2 point something right now. I'm going to send them over there. There they go. And suddenly it went from 2 something to 24. Which means now I'm sending more wealth along this line forward to Castile. Now you're going to look in the economy and you're going to see there's a drop. That's fine. But as economies gain power throughout the game, especially in your colonies, that will pay off in the end. See, I dropped down to 5.57. But eventually what happens is as you develop these things, as you develop your trade routes and you develop your provinces by building trade-related things such as marketplaces, you will eventually be able to expand in these other areas to transfer even more value to like Genoa or to even Seville over here. And these are just some of the small ways that you can actually transfer trade. And right now, early on in the game, it doesn't look like a big deal, but it is a big deal. And you want to keep an eye on trade, and you want to constantly be piling up value from smaller nodes to higher nodes that you're collecting on. Again, I appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully it helped you understand trade a little better than just the tutorial. And these are just some of the strategies that you use later on in the game that will actually make it worth your while. I appreciate